forget what I forget my name. It's suicide. Go behind it. I forget my music. Take the bright side. Reggae. When good morning. Who never tell so? Yeah, yeah. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen and others. How are you guys doing this morning? Okay, so what this is your next assignment. Okay, for you guys, my Art 17ers. Some of you are on your own projects. You know who you are. I'm talking about Ms. Keys. Speaking of Ms. Keys, let me show you what you're doing. Okay, let me share the screen real quick. I'm gonna be doing a lot of screen sharing here. Okay, let's see if I can find it. Hold on. No, that's not what I want. How do I click off of there? Let's see, share. All right, you guys can see my desktop now. Okay, that's okay. All right, here we go. Check her out. Hopefully you guys can see. Woo! Look at that. Yeah, this is gonna take a long time. This is Prismacolor. She's a former dancer. Hopefully she still dances. I know I do. But anyway, she is being inspired by Alphonse Mucha from the Art Nouveau movement, and this is a project that's going to take her a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this detail she's got going here. This kind of quality I want for the student art exhibition. I already claimed this one. I am looking out for it. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, whatever project you're doing, Miss Mino, you're on your own track, dear. Jonathan, you're doing your own thing. Miss Wilson, you're doing your own thing with your portrait of a famous person. So, but those of you, Andy, you're doing your own thing right now. But if any of you guys want to do this assignment, you can set your other assignment if you need a break from it, Ms. Keys or Ms. Mino, whatever. If you want to do this assignment that I'm about to describe now, you can, but you do not have to, okay? Nothing wrong with taking a break once in a while, okay? And then coming back to something, all right? Okay, but for the rest of you who have not really got with me and made a clear decision about where you're going, I want you to go ahead and do this assignment, okay? I think it's good for you, all right? You got 2 weeks on this one, by the way, all right? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at and describe this assignment. So here's what you guys are going to do. The other 17 Art 17 students, you are going to create a drawing, and you're going to feature 3 things. Okay, dandelion, bee, okay, and mushroom. All right, it's kind of like a landscape scenario. All right, so I'm going to kind of take you guys through this a little bit and give you an idea of how I would approach it, like if I were you. All right, so let's start with bees. Okay, why don't we start with that? All right, so I went ahead and looked at some stuff online. Okay, I just typed in bees. I Googled it. Look what came up. Look at this thing. Look at these bees. What is going on? Okay, so you know what tripped me out? I'll tell you what tripped me out. Okay, so you go in here and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that's a bumblebee. I'm like, hold up, like that's a bumblebee right here when I'm circling down here, right? And this is also a bumblebee, but look at this giant over here. That's what caught my eye. I'm like, ooh, it's black, it's shiny, it's kind of a rebel. That's like super bee, I don't know, something like that. By the way, please remember, be nice to the bees, okay? They don't like Roundup. They don't like chemicals. You don't like chemicals on you, do you? Do you want to eat poison? Well, what the hell do you think? They want to eat poison too? Don't stop using Roundup in your yard, you guys. Just stop it. Tell your parents, say, hey, there's other alternatives. That poison seeps into the ground. It messes up all the living things around it. It's a little ecosystem, mini ecosystem, and it's just rank, man. Nobody wants to eat poison. Quit doing it. We need to be responsible. Don't use poison, all right? Okay, I know I'm gonna get a little preachy on this because here's why I love Mother Nature. She never ceases to inspire us, right? Like when I say, maybe when I said bee, you guys were like, oh yeah, I know, typical bee, whatever. Okay, so what? And then, but you got to do some research, people. You got to dig in and get interested and find the fascination with Mother Nature, okay? Get excited about it, okay? So I was excited about this bee right here, didn't know its name. I looked and I said, oh, it says carpenter bee. So then I went and I Googled and I typed in carpenter bee. Then the wiki page showed up and it told me all kind of cool stuff about the carpenter bee. For example, the male's eyes on the carpenter bee are bigger than the females. Ain't that a trip? And it has to do with mating and stuff. But can you imagine if dude, like in the human races like that, like if dude's eyes were like twice as big, wouldn't that be crazy? It's crazy, man. Mother Nature trips me out. So, you know, once you start exploring these things and you dig deep and you do a little research and take some time, you know, put the game controller down and start realizing that the true inspiration is here. Real life, Mother Nature. That is the true inspiration. Okay. So dig deep, do some research, take your time. Okay. What else did I find out about the carpenter bee? Oh, is it sometimes it's similar in size to a bumblebee. And one way that you can tell definitively is that the bumbles have that furry, soft, you know, like they look like little stuffed animals flying around with wings. And the carpenter bee has a nice, shiny, kind of, glossy, that's an exoskeleton. They don't have those little hairs on their belly. So very, very interesting. So anyway, I want you guys to shop around, man. Look at all these bees, man. We got some that have long antennas, probably has to do with something. They got some that have longer legs, got some that are really small. Of course, ooh, look at this guy down here. Ooh, he's like, what is that called? My eyes are too, I can't see, but there's a beautiful greenish one. Ooh, and then there's like a lime green one. What? These are probably like in the Amazon, or I don't know, something like that. Another guy I like right here is this little guy right here. He's interesting. And see, this is like a common one, but they all have different things about them that make them unique. You know what I'm saying? So like some of them, they dig underground. They burrow. How cool is that? Like, so once you figure out your bee, shop around, you could choose it based on what it looks like. You could maybe you like its pattern, maybe you like the size of it, maybe you like this if it looks kind of tough and aggressive, and maybe one looks kind of nice. Shop around for your bee, shop around for your dandelion, shop around for your mushroom. Oh my gosh, we should probably move on to mushrooms. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to close this and make this small here. Close this out. Now let's talk about our mushrooms. Okay. Let's see. Let's just click on this. All right. Now this is just a screenshot. These are drawings, and I don't necessarily encourage you guys I don't want you to draw somebody else's drawing. You know what I mean? Like I want you to use photographs. And of course, this is an exercise. So, if this is just kind of an example, kind of show you different things. Now, this group of mushrooms that you see on the screen right now, those are edibles, okay? Edible mushrooms. We're talking maitake. We're talking the morel, we're talking the black truffle. Oh, remember, the black truffles? Ooh, that's the black truffles, man. You got to have a pig go find those for you in France. I had a friend whose dad was a famous chef in France, and she was mad all the time when she's grown up because it seemed like her dad cared more about finding those truffles than he cared about her. I'm like, I know, Mary, that was her name, Mary-Laure Fonois. Right? Is that French or what? Yeah. Ooh, that girl could drink a lot. But anyway, I was like, girl, do you know how much those truffles cost? I said, your daddy was trying to make you some money. Yeah, because anytime, beautiful. I don't know if you guys treat yourself. If you haven't had a black truffle, or usually they just kind of scrape it. You get a little bit of it, or black truffle oil is another thing. Okay, so when you look at all these beautiful things, right? The oyster mushroom, maitake, shiitake, all different kinds. All right. So if you want to go edible, maybe you just want to go that route. As we know, and the gnocchi, the ones up in the upper left there, beautiful. Look at that, nice and stringy. They look like they're from outer space. Matter of fact, all these kind of look like they're from outer space. Don't they look like they're aliens? I love them. Mushrooms are so important. The mycelium and the underground network that they have, very, very cool. Okay, so we looked at those to see some interesting shapes. Now let's look at some naughty ones. Woo, let's look at some poisonous ones. Y'all check it out. Now, this also is kind of an artistic rendering, that they've taken photographs, but they manipulated them and they put them in a black background, and it makes them seem more ominous, right? Look at all these poisonous mushrooms. So maybe you want to do that. Like check it out. You could have your thing could be dark, like maybe in the background when the sun's going down. And maybe you have these these naughty poisonous mushrooms. And then maybe you have that beautiful carpenter bee, that black one, You see what I'm saying? You're developing a story. You're making choices for a reason. Okay. So these are just, again, some more exciting ideas. These ones are pretty popular. These red ones, that's how you can tell they're poisonous. These are, when I think of poisonous mushrooms, this one right here comes to mind. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I know I would never eat one if I were out in the wilderness. Okay, so we're gonna close out this window. Again, just giving you guys some ideas here, okay? So shop around, do some research, look around. All right, now let's move on to ideas about your dandelions. Now, dandelions are one of those things that that are really misunderstood. Okay, they are so nutritious. You can eat you can eat the whole thing. If it doesn't have poison on it, you can eat the flower. They make tea out of it. It's pricey. I go get that at Whole Foods. I pay $6 for a tea when I could just go outside and pick my own dandelions. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the root you can eat. You can eat the stem, you can eat the flower, you can eat the leaves, you can eat all of that stuff. Grind them up, put the leaves in a blender with water, drink it down. Boom, good for diabetics, good for your liver, good for your kidneys, cleans you out, man. It's bitter, I know, but we eat too much sweet. So that's why this is a very, very powerful medicine, this plant. Okay, so I'm showing you here, as we know, dandelions, there's different forms, right? There's when they're dispersing their seeds, when they're all dried up. And so this is a scenario right here where you have both going on, right? You have some in the foreground that still have their cap on, right? And then you have, as you go back into space, you see all these bubbles, all these circles, right? Circle, 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 very cool. Now see, this one is in the foreground, so it's nice and crisp, right? And then see how this one's kind of going back in space over here? Okay, so we're getting less detail, we're getting softer edges, and then of course, as you go way back here, stuff in the background, that's super soft, that's way back there. Now, I don't know how short your composition is, like if you wanna do, like, let's say it's, you're only looking back 3 feet, you know, that would make sense, you know? Just think about that, the depth of your composition, okay? Again, I want you guys to take, usually, a lot of times I want you to draw stuff from life, but in this scenario, I actually want you to go online and take a dandelion or a scene like this, okay? And then you're gonna insert your mushroom somewhere. Now, by the way, any of these that I'm showing you right now, off limits, you can't use them, okay? Now, not this, but you're gonna have to find some other picture, all right? Do it yourself. I'm not trying to do your job for you. I'm just trying to show you how to think about it so you can get a good composition, something that's interesting. At the same time, using disparate image sources, combining them together, creating something new so you're not ripping it off. Like if you just drew this whole thing right here, you're ripping them off, right? Because you're copying exactly what they're doing. I don't want you to do that. You're taking parts from different things, combining them into one image. The image size will be like 9 by 12 or 11 by 14. You got 2 weeks to do this project, okay? 9 by 12, 11 by 14. It could be vertical or it could be horizontal, all right? That's what I want, okay? I mean, approximately 11 by 14. If you want to come in and crop in like, you know, an inch all the way around so you have that nice border, then that would be good. Probably a good idea, okay? Same thing with the 9 by 12. You want to come in an inch all the way around so that you have like a ½ inch border, white border, that's cool too. Hopefully you guys know me enough by now to know what I mean and why it's important to have a clean border, okay? All right, so dandelions, okay? Very misunderstood. This is what people always want to kill off in their yard. But the thing is that if you have dandelions, guess who loves that? Guess who loves to visit your yard? One of our strongest pollinators, a species that we're killing off, the bees. The bees love dandelion. So let the dandelions grow. You guys, there's worse things in life. You know, people are dying, this and that. You don't have to poison your dandelions. You know what I mean? They're helping you. You should eat them and live longer. All right. So anyway, bees love dandelions, okay? They attract, bees attract to your yard. We like that. Okay, so this is one scenario. Now, obviously, this is a horizontal, right, composition. So let's just look at this. Like, for example, you can't use this, but if I let you use this, you might think, okay, let's see. Now, I'm gonna tell you another thing. Right here, this is a tangency. I don't like, this looks like one stem with 2 dandelions on the same stem. So if I were you, that's artistic license, you would move the dandelion, like move this one over, just scooch it over a little bit, give it its own stem, all right? But in this scenario here, let's say we're using this, okay? So I might say, okay, well, first of all, you got to figure out who's the star of the show. Where is your focal point in this composition, all right? Now on this one, I would say this one right here is the focal point. Why? Because it's kind of centrally located. If we were to cut this into 4ths, right? Right down the middle, then right down the middle this way. It's not right in the center, but it's pretty darn close. You know what I mean? So we look at stuff in the center, right? Okay, so this would be the focal point, all right? And let's see, maybe a secondary, in this case, it's probably this one, because it literally is connected. All right, so then in this scenario, we say, okay, well, let's say we want the dandelion, we want to keep it the star of the show, let's say, okay? That's our focal point. We want our eye to go there first, okay? So we say, okay, this is going to be the focal point. Then you say, okay, well, where am I going to put a mushroom up in this scene? You know, where is it going to go? All right. And one thing you might do is you might take a guess on where this picture was taken. I mean, it could be anywhere, but let's say it's in the desert. We're talking the Four Corners. Let's say we're talking Nevada. We're talking Arizona. We're talking New Mexico. We're talking that area, you know, Southwest, kind of close to Mexico. Those in that location, you probably have some different kind of mushrooms than you would in the Pacific Northwest, like Oregon, for example, where a lot of mushrooms go there. The kinds of mushrooms that feed off of dead trees, right? We're talking reishi, very powerful. We're talking chaga, super powerful mushroom as well. Those are ones you make a tea out of, and they tend to grow out of trees, a lot of times dead trees, like old wood, and that's their jam, man. That's where they love to grow. Okay, so like I said, I want you guys to do some research, because you could have it making sense from a geographical location, like the type of bee that's in a certain area, the type of dandelion that grows in a certain area, and the type of mushroom that grows in the certain. So you see, you have some sort of cohesion there, in theory, at least. Okay, or you can make those relationships between those three different beautiful species purely on a visual thing, like I mentioned with the black bee, the poisonous mushroom, and then like the dandelion. You know, you can maybe even make the dandelion leaves. See, they almost look like teeth. These teeth here, they're kind of pointy. They're not like a normal, you know, leaf, right? A normal, graceful leaf. No, they're different. They're kind of pointy. They almost looks like teeth. So if you wanted to, you can emphasize that too. You can have a bunch of dandelion leaves coming up, kind of looking like teeth. So it's like in a dangerous forest with dangerous bees and dangerous, you know, plants, and, you know, just kind of a theme. Okay, so think about it. If you want to go romantic, if you want to go light and kind of fantastical and kind of fairyland, where, hey, it's only the nice mushrooms or the fantastical mushrooms, you could do some psilocybin. You know, we're talking, you know, you could do some traditional, native, indigenous, that kind of mushroom scenario. You could do that. You know, why not? So anyway, so let's think in this. Let's go back here and say, okay, where might I put a mushroom? Now, you could put it, and we have to be able to see it and tell it's a mushroom. So if you wanted to, and you could choose kind of maybe a smaller, maybe a mushroom that has like the enoki mushrooms that have a very thin sort of a stem. Why would you do that? Because you could set it back here, excuse me, here, and it would kind of relate to these long stems. So because they're similar in shape, that would put them behind. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to doing a big fat mushroom, which is going to be contrasting against all these kind of elongated, you know, all these stems and everything. Do you see what I'm saying? Everything you put into your composition is talking to something else. That's what you got to realize. These are not just separate things. That's not how life is. Everything is related. Things happen for a reason. That's where the magic is. You guys got to tap into the magic, and you got to tell a story about these three things living in this cool world that you're creating. Okay. All right. You can have several mushrooms if you want, right? The more things you have in a composition, the less precious they become. We see that here in this example, right? All these kind of parachutes, they're waiting to go disperse. All these little, there's a certain name for it, but I don't know. But you know what I mean? You see how all these are kind of same, all these circles in the background. Now, if we were to remove in the foreground here, if we were to remove this one, and this one, and then this only was the only, it's almost like the last dandelion that before it turns to seed. Do you see how that's emphasizing, that would be emphasizing this one even more? Okay, so you see what I'm saying? We're talking, you can change a story based on how many of a something you have. Okay, so you can have, if you want, you can have a couple bees if you want. You got to have one though, at least. And not all of them can be the star of the show. You can have a bee in the foreground. Let's say you had a bee sitting on here. Let's say you had that big old black carpenter bee. Now, I don't even know if that particular species is fond of this kind of dandelion. I don't know, you know, but anyway, let's say it was sitting on here. So you have the dandelion, that is big old black bee here, which because if it would be sitting on the lighter toned thing and literally on top of it, it would command more attention. It would be like, oh, you're number one focal point? Oh no, bzzz, I'm number one now, sucker. Why? Because it would be black, because it would be shiny, because it would be huge, and it would probably be like sitting on, actually, if it was sitting on, the weight of that bee probably would make the dandelion stem kind of go like that, which is cool, right? You feel that weight. It landed on there and it kind of like that. Okay, you see how I'm trying to tell stories here? I'm trying to come up with like, oh, that'd be fun. It's intriguing. you're thinking about it. You're telling a story every time. The choice you have is, do you want to tell a scary story? Do you want to tell a sensitive story? What we don't want is we don't want to tell a boring story, people. So you better make it exciting. You have all the tools at your disposal. Contrast, you have repetition, you have texture, you have atmospheric perspective, you have all different kinds of things. Okay, so if your stuff is boring, next. Okay, bad grade. Don't be mediocre. Try to do something exciting. Create some excitement for yourself, okay? And for others. You got to groove off of it first, though. If you're not interested in what you're drawing, put the pencil down and just get a 0. Because what's the point? You got to find a way to fall in love with the process of discovery, you guys, okay? It's not just about replicating what you see. It's about taking it to the next level and imbuing that with something that you find interesting, okay? And then you communicate that. But if you didn't find something you found interesting, how the hell are you going to communicate that to the viewer? Either interest or respect or compassion or empathy or something. But you guys, sometimes as we get too species, we're just like, we're human beings, we're the best, that's all that matters, and everything else is just beneath us. Wrong. If we don't have bees, ain't no us eventually. You see what I'm saying? If there's not plants and we keep poisoning everything, guess what? That's the end of us. Okay? It's time to start caring. And this is one of the ways that we can do it. It was just stop, take a minute, do some research, and trip out, man. Trip out on these things because it's cool. Mother Nature is so amazing. Another thing I learned about the carpenter bees, okay? The females and the sisters, man, they kick it together. They have relationships. And not, so I know we always think, well, the worker bee and the queen bee, and there's like a status kind of a thing there. But this is that's a community right there. The girls stick together. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's really, really cool. And they kind of, they're together and they help each other out. I love that. They got personality, people. Everything is a living thing. Okay. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about. So figure out what you want to say. You could use an image like this, and then maybe you just want to make the whole thing darker, or maybe you want to pretend like, oh, the sun's going down way over here. Then that would change the lighting scenario. So you might do that. So you have all these things, and then you've got to apply whatever lighting scenario you want. It has to apply to everything though. So that means your mushroom, that means your bee, so if the light's coming from the left-hand side pretty strong and the sun's, and it's the golden hour, then that means you're going to get highlight on the flowers. You're going to get highlight on your bee on the left side. So you got to start thinking about it. You almost got to transport yourself into that scenario. And that's what's so great about a shot like this, because this is a position that we don't, typically see. We're usually standing above, and then we look on the ground and we see, oh, all this stuff on the ground. But that's a different perspective. Once you change your perspective and you get low and you're like, oh, wow. It's like, what's that movie? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? When they got all small, fascinated with that movie. And wasn't that cool? So we're seeing the same thing, but we're seeing it in a different way, right? And that's why everybody loved that movie, because it was a trip, to see these huge things, like the size of a car. It's a bee. Yeah, or ants or what have you. So very, very cool. And, that same kind of fantasticalness, you can have a little bit of that in your drawing if you take the time to do it. Okay, so let's take the time to do it. Okay, what else about this? It doesn't have to be all grass. Like I say, it could be a desert scenario. You can have it be kind of a weird kind of scenario, maybe like in the desert, high desert, and there's just a couple dandelions here and there. You know what I mean? You might even have some cactus in the back. You can have other things. You just have to have those 3 items in your composition. I'm not saying you can't add other stuff, but you don't want to distract. I need to know who is the star of the show. You choose. Is it mushroom? Is it bee? Is it dandelion? I don't know. Okay, you're going to have to choose. All right, create an interesting story. Okay, so there's something else I was going to tell you guys. Oh, another thing you might do, I just got this off of the internet as well. So, that first one I showed you with all the different bees. Now here's different perspectives of the bees. You can see that one is looking straight down. That's kind of unusual. The bird's eye view typically is not so interesting. Okay, you want to get above eye level or below eye level. But what you don't want to do is just get right on top, because that's not a good view. Okay, that's almost the same. It's like just seeing the dead on, straight on view. They always do eye level, kind of boring. So try to think in terms of, looking above eye level or below. Okay, and if you do that though, is all those things in your composition have to make sense. You know, you can't be looking at a bee from the top and then, or a mushroom from the top, right? Like you're looking down on the ground and then you see a bee that in the position doesn't make sense. They all have to be the same perspective so that your composition makes sense in general. So anyway, these are different positions here of bees. You know, obviously some are facing the left, some are facing the right. You could have a bee flying or taking off. You could have a bee just barely landing or just about to land. You know, like maybe the bee's just about to land on your dandelion. See, that's the important thing there. That's what they naturally do, right? So even if you have your bee and your dandelion close together, okay, and it's going to land on it and you want it to be actual size, right? Like it might be in real life, then you got to watch out because you don't want those two things to compete with each other. You're either going to have to up the contrast on B, or you're going to have to make the dandelion larger so it makes the bee smaller. You know, you see what I'm saying? So when things move, that's a different kind of energy. The dandelion really isn't moving. Well, it is when it's seeding, but I mean, the flower itself is going to stay pretty stable. But bees, we know, in our mind, they buzz, right? That's when we see them. They fly, they buzz, they take off. You know, they're awesome at navigating. All right. So keep that in mind too. You know what I mean? You got to be in control. Who is the star of the show? Put that in your focal point, and then everything else in your composition should support that idea. It's like the gist of a joke. There can only be one punchline. A joke does not have two punchlines. When you have, you know, a scene in the movie, there's one place the director wants you to look. Everything else is icing on the cake, but it must support your main idea. Otherwise, you start having, if you pay just a close, you know, attention in terms of contrast and size and everything, you had three things right there, evenly spaced. That's boring, right? And they're not relating to each other. So you want something a little bit in the background. Okay, it provides depth. So maybe the bee is you know 3 feet away from you, and then the dandelion is 1 inch away from our view. Do you see what I'm saying? And you have all that space in between. Maybe you want mushroom to be in between. So you have dandelion up close, you have mushroom somewhere, you know, maybe a foot back, and then maybe at the very end, you see what I'm saying? Then you have overlapping, you have a sense of depth, you have a sense of a real composition, as opposed to just putting them in there and just not even thinking about where you're putting them or why you're putting them there, right? Think about how these components, you know, meet together and make an interesting composition, okay? All right. So what I was going to say too about this one is that what you can do is you can, whatever bee you chose, you can look at this as a structure. Think of it that way. Like this is just a way to show you like where the legs are in general. So you can take this in terms of position of your bee, and then you can also enlarge whatever bee you chose from that chart. And then you go, oh, okay, like let's take the black one, for example, the carpenter bee. Okay. So maybe you want it like it's taken off. This one right here, okay, it's taken off. So instead of this bee, you would do this lightly in a sketch, right? And then you would come over and you would start to shade it and make it black. So you're figuring out the differences in anatomy between this bee, which you're using for position only to figure out how the position of your other bee is, the one that you chose is going to be. You see what I'm saying? Do you guys see how this is how you use reference? You don't just freaking steal someone's shit and then just go, oh yeah, it's mine. You don't do that. You create something new, right? You use your mind. You got to be a designer. This is design, people. This is what illustrators do all the time. They do this all the time. They take different things and they have to compile stuff together, and then they have to make it look cohesive and original. And that's what you're doing. Okay, that's what you're doing. All right. So hopefully you guys get what I mean with that. And like I said, 9 by 12 is okay. 11 by 14. Now, remember this too. This goes for illustration. When you're doing an image, and the larger you do it, typically what would happen if you're an illustrator, you do an image this large, okay? Let's say it's going to be on a magazine cover. You do an illustration, right? Larger. Then when they shoot it and it actually becomes printed, it gets cropped down. So it becomes tighter and it looks more realistic, okay? Because you're going big where you can really get big and get the details. And then when it's cropped in and it's diminished in size, it looks more realistic. So keep that in mind, okay? Easier to draw, easier to see things. And then when you crop it, and not crop it, when you scale it down, then it's looking like, oh, wow, that looks really, really good, okay? So keep that in mind. That's why I say maybe you want to go 11 by 14 or 9 by 12. But the thing is this, it does require more shading. Of course, that's more space that you have to deal with, all right? But I'm just saying, take that into account when you're doing it. Don't always go for the easy one, you know, and think, oh, that's easier, you know. Think about the final product, all right? I want you to think about that. This could be a really nice portfolio piece. It shows that you're thinking, you know, it shows that you know how to access and use different images to, you know, create a unique image that you can truly call your own. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Only use reference, photographic reference for this stuff, you guys. Don't use drawings. Don't do a drawing of somebody else's drawing. Do a drawing from a photograph. That you're separating yourself, you know, a little bit more from the image. Okay, all right, and which is good. Okay, all right, it's less copying, if you know what I mean. There's something about that. Yeah. Okay, so position of the bee is important. Remember always that technique is important. Shading. Now on this one, you guys, you're going to have some detail in there. So you may want to go HB. You know, I'm a huge fan of the HB, the 2B going softer. But for this one, you guys might want to explore some of the harder leads because you can get a little bit more precise in there. So that's what I want you to do. Okay, yeah, think about that. Oh, another idea that I thought was cool. So imagine this, like the carpenter bee. I know I can't let go of the carpenter bee, or whatever bee you choose. Okay, something powerful. Okay, something aerodynamic. You know, maybe even like a hornet or a yellow jacket. Ooh, those are, you know. So they're almost like little dive bombers, aren't they? So maybe you have a yellow jacket coming, and then maybe it like exploded into it, you know, it's like having fun. And it's like, you know, it's kind of like human beings when we jump in the leaves, you know, we rake up the leaves and then we jump in the leaves and it's fun. Maybe for the bees, it's something cool like that too. Maybe when they see a dandelion, you know, when it's going to seed and it's turned into a parachute, maybe they like, you know, and they whoosh into it. So you could do that point where it impacts the dandelion and some of the little parachutes are starting to fly away because you're creating motion. You know what I mean? You're creating action. Or maybe it's not, maybe you could do it right before it hits it and then make people imagine what that might be like, right? You're creating a narrative there. You're making an image based on something you're suggesting but haven't drawn yet. So that's cool. That's called, let's see, not anxiety, but tension, right? It's kind of tension, you know what I mean? And so you can, you know, draw that and then, or you could fast forward that scene. Remember, think of yourself like a director. You could fast forward it to where it already went through one or maybe even two, you know, maybe there's one in the background and then you can have a horizontal kind of a thing. One, he already went through one and you can see all the parachutes, you know, flowing away. And then maybe he's about to hit the next one, or maybe he's gone through the second one. Right. And so you could show that too. So it's like extra. It's like I went boom, boom. You know what I mean? So think about that. If you do that scenario, then please make sure that the flying creature, the bee, the hornet, the whatever, is going from left to right, because that's how we read. Don't do it the opposite direction, because that's annoying, and that it creates another kind of tension, which it stops the action. We don't want that. So if you're going to have some action, have it starting from the left side of your composition, moving to the right. Okay, always a good idea. Okay. Trying to think what else. I want you guys to try to go as realistic as you can. All right. I don't want no hard edge anime looking stuff. Okay. This is realism. All right. I'm giving you plenty of opportunity to create a storyline. Okay. That's the thing, you guys. Some of you guys, I know you have your own stories. You created your own characters and stuff. But here's the thing. Doing stuff like this is going to help you tell the story of whatever character you created. But if you can't take the time to tell a story about some simple stuff like this, a dandelion, a mushroom, and a bee, then how are you going to tell complicated stories about whatever things that you're doing? You know what I mean? You're what have you. So this is a very special assignment because it's making you think, it's making you compose, it's making you do research, it's making you have some cohesion, and I think it's giving you enough flexibility and choice where you can create the kind of image you want. Like I said, it can be romantic, it can be funny, it can be light, it can be dark, you know, it can be whatever you want it to be, okay? Yeah, but I want it to be interesting. Please don't be boring, okay? There's so many mediocre stuff out there. It's lame. There's too much stuff on the web that's ugly, no composition, no time, and it's just up there and it's cluttering our world. I much would rather have high quality when people are really going for it, okay? So I want you guys to go for it on this one. Again, any of my other students, if you want to try this out, just for your own whatever, try it out. You know, you can do that. That's fine. Just put on hold your other project. It'll still it'll be there. It's a nice little break. It's like a brain tweezer in a way. It's kind of fun. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to do. I do want this. I would prefer that this stay black and white. That would be my preference. However, if you guys submit it to me and I like it in black and white, then I might allow you to put some color on it after you turn it in, and then you could redo it. You know, not redo it, but you could alter it. Okay. But here's the thing though. Really pay attention to your values and your edges. Okay. Soft edges, hard edges. Think about a bee, that exoskeleton. There's some hard moments on that bee, you guys, depending on what it's around, right? It's almost like a little armor. Okay. Kind of, you know, if you tap it, you know, it makes a noise like that. Think about mushrooms. Some are softer than others, but in general, they all tend to have like a squishiness to them. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, and with your dandelions, same thing. Some of those leaves, you know, and get the shape of the leaves right too. Don't. You know, leaves aren't just, they don't look like no other kind of leaves. They're special. So I want to be able to know that it's a dandelion, even if you don't have the flower on there. You should be able to tell it by the leaf form itself. They all kind of have the same, you know, there's different kinds of dandelions in that species or whatever, but they all kind of have that thing too. And they almost look like teeth a little bit. Okay, so I want to see that. Gosh, what else? I don't know, it's up to you. All right. Okay, let me show you guys one more. I'm going to make this large here. Okay, now this is a great little image. No, you can't use it. Got to go find another one. But this one is backlit. Okay, so if this dandelion were to have not gone to seed yet, okay, and not started to make the parachutes to distribute the seeds, and if it were still like in its flower form, you know, the yellow up here, it would look different. It would look very different. It would probably have a nice rim up here of light because the sunlight's coming down at an angle like that. But it mostly would be in shadow. Okay, at least on that cup side, you know, it's sort of like this, you know, dandelions kind of sit that way. So on that ridge, there'd be a highlight there. And then in this, from here to here, though, it would be dark. Okay. And same thing with the stem. It would be dark and maybe a little highlight you can see here. But even as it goes down, you see it gets darker as it goes down into the grass. All right. So in this scenario, let's say I wanted to put a bee in this scenario. Okay. I would have some choices. Obviously, the dandelion right here, it's all about this dandelion. And you would take great care to go and shade all this so you could get that hairy effect, because that's how it looks with that light source, right? Now, in this one, you might do something where maybe there's we see the butt of a bee, his biscuits, and he's flying away. Maybe he's flying into the sun. Okay, so if that were the case, right, then you would probably see like a highlight on his little back or his head, depending on the angle of how he's flying up, right? If he's flying up this way, you probably see his head, his little noggin on top would have that sun, just like the sun is casting on here, okay? But it would be kind of dark because it'd be in silhouette once again, all right? So it would probably be a black moment here, dark moment at least, okay? And you can make it about this small, okay? When we see a dandelion this big, we know we're way up close. We are in the grass, on the ground, looking at this, and this is literally an inch away from our face. And then the bumblebee, or whatever kind of bee you wanted, could be, I don't know, it might be 2 feet away. You know, who knows? I don't know, but it'd have to make sense, okay? Then over here, this might be a good location for whatever the mushroom I wanted to use, okay? But also you'd have to make sure that the light would make sense with that too. So as you can see with the grass, right, it would just get a little bit of light over here. And, you know, maybe it would be kind of cropped so you wouldn't see all of it. But see the shape I'm making here? If I had like a nice cap of a mushroom here, this shape right here, this curve, that would reinforce this curve. Okay, and then up here we have another curve, that little bee's head, another curve. You see that? The importance of shape relationships. So you have little noggin circle, you know, then you have this beautiful moment here, okay, this curve. Then you have another curve down here, bigger, but less important because it's not in the middle, right? It's kind of at the edge and it's getting darker in value. So it's going to get less attention. You see what I'm saying? Start of the show, still right here. Okay, so just giving you guys some ideas, okay, in terms of what you want to do. I want the whole composition done, okay, at the very edge and right in the middle. Once again, you got to be responsible for the whole composition, all right? I don't want to see any white space in this. And by the way, if you were to try to replicate this, how would I replicate that white? By leaving your paper white. That means you would have to come here with your little smudge tool and, you know, boom, 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 just very, you know, gently get these little moments to shade, and all around here, you would take great pains to get that fluffy, you know, kind of parachute vibe that this thing is. That's amazing, Mother Nature, you know. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to do. All right. I want you to think about your composition. I want you to shop around for your bees, shop around for the dandelion. Not so much choice on the dandelion, but also shop around for those mushrooms. They're all different kinds of mushrooms. Okay. There's ones that are edible. There's ones that eat plastic. There's ones that are psychedelic. There's ones that like turkey tail that is being proven to combat cancer. This is the new frontier, you guys. Mushrooms, get with it, man, because they can really help you. Lion's mane helps with memory. I take lion's mane all the time. I want to keep my memory, thank you very much. And stuff like sugar, that depletes your memory. That makes everything bad. So you got to balance yourself with the good things that might taste bitter. Hello, dandelion. And the things that taste good, the sweet, you know, the fruits and stuff, but you got to have balance, okay? Lean into the bitter, people, because there's beauty in the bitter, all right? Lean into it. Okay, hopefully you guys understand these instructions, the size, etc. I do want it in 2B pencil. Please do that, no charcoal. And those of you who, you know, want to try this and you want to do it in color, that would be Miss Mino, that would be Miss Keys, Patricia, yes, Miss Montrose, if she wanted to do color, I can be down for that. The rest of you, let's keep them black and white. Okay, let's just err on the side of caution. Unless you send me an awesome image, like kind of a comprehensive drawing, you say, here's my plan. And you have this little simple, not a finished drawing, a simple comprehensive that says, that I can see exactly what's going on with your values, exactly what's going on with your placement, all that stuff. If you give me that image and you pitch it to me, you say, hey, professor, I want to try this. And also send me the reference, then I'll be like, okay, cool. I'll let you try that in color because I know I'll have some confidence because I already know you have a good composition. All right. But if you guys email me a crappy composition and your shading looks ugly, I'm not going to let you use color because you can't even deal with the black and white. So why are you going to make it harder to use color when you can't even control your black and white? All right. Oh my gosh, I got to share it. Okay. Look what my man, hey, what did I just say about sugar? What did I just say? Look what he brought me, my man. Yep. Krispy Kreme. Why? Because he loves me. That's why. And I love him. I hope you guys all have a loved one that stops by and offers you a little poison. Yeah, I know, right? I know, it's poison once in a while. Look, it matches my eyeshadow. Okay, there you go. Once in a while, a little poison is okay. It's okay. All right. Kind of live a little. I'm just saying, get the bitter in there too. I'm gonna eat dandelion today, so I'm gonna balance it out. Okay. All right, you guys. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Please, I'm gonna stop the share now. Please do this assignment well. If you have any questions, let me know. It's a beautiful day. I'm starting to think about spring, you guys. This is kind of springish type stuff. So let's plant that seed. Ha ha ha. Okay, what was it? 40-something days till spring. I miss summer. No, I love spring too. Okay, you guys. So have fun with this. Get into Mother Nature, y'all. She will never disappoint you. All right. If you have questions, let me know. Please use the good paper. Once again, you guys know what I'm talking about. The Canson multimedia. It can take everything. Okay. So please use that. All right. If you guys want my input, please email me. Do a little comprehensive drawing. Okay. Proportionate, 9x12. Doesn't have to be finished and complete. All I want to know is where is the placement of these items so I can look and go, oh, that, and get a gist of the composition. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So please do that. If you wait till the last minute and then you're asking me 2 days before it's due, there's not much I can do to help you because you're limiting the time that you have to make those changes. So if you want my input, the best thing for you to do is to read the instructions, do the research, figure out a couple choices that you like, email me those images. Again, you can do a comprehensive in 10 minutes. You don't have to spend an hour and then committing and getting your B all perfect and then email me and say, what do you think of this? And I'll go, your B is great, but your composition sucks. So it doesn't matter how good you spent, all the time you spent on one particular thing, if it's not making sense and everything isn't working together in your composition, you are lost and I will tell you to start again. All right. Don't seriously. Okay. You guys need to get this. You really do. Composition is so important. All right. Now I had an instructor way back when who, for my intermediate class, he gave us an assignment like that. And if we couldn't do it to his satisfaction, we had to just keep doing the same thing until we got it right. And some people in my class did not get it right. They ended up spending the whole semester doing one image over and over and over. And you know what? There's a beauty to that. There really is. Like, get it right again, get it right. And just don't let you move on till you get it right. Hard, right? So please don't make me do that with you. Get it right the first time. Take your right time the first time. Do your research. Get a great composition. That is so important, you guys. Without a great composition, that's what this class is about. It's not just about technique and rendering. It's about taking it to that next level. Subject matter, cohesion, narrative quality about it, telling a story, doing that research, making sure everything is cohesive, that you have a strong composition. You can't run away from it. It is always going to be there. And there's going to be people who get it, and there's going to be people who don't. Remember to look at your negative shapes. Remember your spacing. You don't want things in all around the same distance apart. That's boring. You guys got to think about that. Also, I am attaching in the module, there is a video called Composition. I know some of you guys have seen it, but guess what? You're going to watch it again, all right? Because it talks about the rule of thirds. It talks about composition in film a little bit. The guy's he's an Australian. He's a digital artist, and he does a lot of online, digital stuff. So pay attention to what he's saying, okay? You have to organize your composition, all right? Very important. That goes with everything in life, whether you're putting food on a plate, whether you're dressing yourself, whether you're designing a car, whether you're designing an interior design, whether you're designing architecture, sculpture, dance, even dance, there has to be a composition. You know what I mean? You can't just, a dancer, you don't want to just have the same movement, standing there having the same movements. That's boring. So don't have the same things in your composition that are boring. Don't alter the size relationship. Something big, something small, something soft, something hard edge. Okay, be dynamic. Okay, you've got to if you want to make it as an artist. Okay, all right. So take it seriously, you guys. Create an interesting scenario, man. You got 2 weeks. 2 weeks. All right. If I don't hear from you the first week and you're asking questions, then either you're super confident and you are so good and you know exactly what you're doing, or B, you're putting it off. You're being childish, and your composition is going to be weak, and you're going to get a C at best. So put the time in now. Start today, this morning. Don't put it off, okay? All right. Good luck, you guys. You know the size, 9 by 12, 11 by 14. You know the paper I want, Canson, 98 pound. You know, if you want to do color, you got to check with me first. Send me your images. Send me what you're doing. I'm like the art director, and you're the illustrator. And you need to get my input, okay? That's part of my job, all right? So some of you, I know you could just do it and it will come out beautiful, and that's great, but not most of you though, okay? So get my help. What? Hey, you're paying me, right? You might as well get my help, all right? Okay, guys, good luck with this. 2 weeks is due. Some of you guys, you might want to Zoom with me. We might need to check in, but some of you guys, you're already doing that, and we already have an understanding, and you're good communicators, and guess what? Those of you who are doing that are faring better in the class than those of you who are just kind of like, you checking in, once in a while, and you're not really working on your projects. The outcome will not be good. You're not going to have pieces that are going to be strong enough for me to want to put them in the student exhibition. Okay. So do a good job. Remember, be cautious of your smudging. Get some of those more harder lead pencil. Okay. We're talking the HB, we're talking the 2H, stuff like that. Try them out, experiment. Okay. All right, you guys, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Bye-bye.